We are recording this on September 11th, 2023.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or good night, depending on your time zone. Hi, I'm Charlie Smith.
And I'm Allyn Aston, and you're listening to the Britney Army Barracks.
You actually were where I found out that Britney unfollowed Sam.
Really? Because I didn't make a video about that.
No, just now. We were talking about it.
Yeah, it finally happened. You know, the funny part about Britney unfollowing Sam finally is that about a week before that, there was all these news articles saying like, Sam unfollows Britney, blah, blah, blah. And he did for like a day or two, but then I guess he refollowed her. And then when she unfollowed him, I saw no news articles about it for like a long time. And I was like, y'all were really apt to tell everybody that Sam unfollowed Britney, but when she unfollowed him, it was not news. Explain.
Yeah, that's very weird. I don't understand the narrative in general with him. I don't understand why the media is making him look good. It really is confusing.
I don't know. It's almost like they're trying to pat him on the back, being like, good job for getting that toxicity out of your life.
It just really feels like a PR thing, and it's their marriage, it's their lives. Like, it shouldn't look like this in my mind. Even like her breakup with Kevin, that didn't look calculated. That was a marriage that fell apart. You know what I mean? This feels like I'm watching a fucking soap opera, and and she's the villain this season, and he's gonna come back next season as his own twin in a coma. And I'm getting really fucking sick of them treating it like it's some sort of spectacle.
Yeah, me too. And then, when Britney tries to speak out on it, you have like two factions. You have one that's like, she's a liar, oh my God. And then you have the other one that's like, she's not even writing that. This is all part of a plot.
It's so tough too, because I mean, obviously that's really where I started in this whole thing, is being skeptical in that way. So I don't mean to dismiss that idea, and at the same time,
me either.
You really have to move on at some point if we're going to just figure out even what the captions mean. Just recognizing, okay, this is what the caption is saying. This is what it's trying to get us to believe. Like I said, there's three ways I look at everything. If she's okay, if she's not okay, and if she's not okay, to what degree is she not okay, or not free, I guess I should say. And I'm not really sure that it benefits anything for us to sit here and debate who is or isn't putting out her Instagram content. You know what I mean? No matter what, it's from the brand Instagram. That's like, no matter what. So it's not like she has full access or she's the only one with access. So I get kind of frustrated when people act like it's definitive one way or the other. You know what I mean? Like, that's definitely her.
So
it's definitely not. It's just like, why are you acting like you fucking know?
Yeah, I have that same frustration. And, everybody knows I change my mind on it all the time. And that could be because, like you're saying, there's 6 different people with access to this. Maybe I'm changing my mind because it is different people sometimes. I don't know.
Right.
But I do get really riled up when people are like, Allyn, stop talking about this. That's not her. And you're falling for their plot. And I'm like, well, how do you know that?
Yep.
And
God,
maybe it's not. I don't know. I don't know better than you or anybody else. But if it is, I think it's worth looking at it that way and seeing what it could mean and seeing what it could say and giving a voice to her. If this is the only voice that we have from Britney Spears right now, what else are we supposed to look at?
Exactly. Like, what the fuck else? People are like, why are you looking at this?
What, am I supposed to listen to TMZ?
Right. You know what I mean? Like, the name of my page is Britney Army General. I'm not going to go put on Drew fucking Barrymore. Like, I want to watch, I'm following this case. So whether or not it is or isn't her, we'll find that out eventually. We're eventually going to figure that out. I mean, we have to. Like, even if it's fucking 30 years from now, like, eventually people will be able to know whether or not this has been her at the end of the conservatorship. For us to assume that everything would have just been like, she's totally fine and everything is just completely optics-wise looks totally normal before the fucking trial has even started. Like, she hasn't even begun the process of getting justice, and people are trying to rush her along into, like, just being back to normal or whatever the fuck. And even the speculation of this fucking marriage. I don't understand how people are speculating on this divorce like a regular divorce. We have all been sitting here for a year like, wait a minute, that wedding didn't even look real. What the fuck? And now people are like, oh, Hollywood couple, Britney Spears and Sam Ashgari, calling it quits. And it's just like, this should not be treated like any other Hollywood relationship. I mean, no relationship should be, a spectacle like that, but Does that make any sense? Like, I just feel like this of all relationships should have been treated with some space and respect.
I think I understand you, but I do want a little bit of further clarification. Like, are you saying people shouldn't speculate on what's going on between them? Or are you just saying, like, we shouldn't be approaching this the same way because we're talking about someone who has been abused for so long? I'm just trying to figure out.
You know what I'm, like, imagining in my head? So, like, pretend for a second that Joan Rivers was still alive, right? And like is like running like fashion police. And she's just like, oh, Sam Asghari's his watch. It's so last season. Like, I would be like, why are you talking about his fucking watch? Like, he was like a hired employee that was brought on by her dad. Like, this isn't like fucking Brad and Angelina. Sam Asghari shouldn't be even treated like a celebrity. He was a hired fucking part of her team. But I guess my point is Hollywood treating Britney and Sam like just any other couple, when like everybody in Hollywood has to be looking at that like that guy just tried to fuck her over. You know what I mean? Like, he's a joke. That's not a real Hollywood couple. It almost makes me angry that tabloids were covering it in that way, that it's just like, oh, another Hollywood marriage falls apart. It's just like, that's not the same. Don't treat this like a relationship that just like is now on the outs. Like, he was part of the fucking conservatorship as far as I'm concerned at the end. He's
giving Handler vibes. I mean, we just can't deny that at this point. I mean, I know a lot of people wouldn't really allow that kind of conversation when he was still around because, of course, we wanted to respect Britney's decisions and respect who she's with and all these things. But it is kind of a relief to hear the news now echo what we were worried about for so long and say that Britney worried about it too. I mean, it's not a relief to me that she feels that way. It's validating, I guess, to hear like our concerns were not for nothing. At the same time, though, those are just news articles still, and we have yet to hear anything actually from Britney outside of her Instagram statement saying, we broke up and it's been really hard. And I mean, I would love to hear from her directly. I doubt she's ready, and that's okay too. But at the same time, like, the news cycle just constantly obsessing about Sam and leaving Britney out of the equation is really fucking unfortunate.
I don't like the way that the press is sort of making this about him and talking about his perspective. Yeah, there's just something very ick about the way that it feels like they're just talking about it like it's any other breakup. And it's just like, Britney deserves space right now in general. And she hasn't gotten any of it since the conservatorship ended. None. And the only level of like space she sort of got has been telling the fandom to back off. Like, TMZ has not stopped being horrible. They have put out multiple documentaries. I don't even see that it's going to stop. They're not slowing down. They didn't stop when she got out of the conservatorship. If they were going to stop at some point, they would have. And now my thing is I've been starting to think of how can we get like legislation to protect people from being slandered in this way from entities like TMZ. Because apparently right now it's legal. Harvey Levin, is that his name?
Yeah, Harvey Levin.
That he's a lawyer. So he knows the fucking laws and what he can and cannot say. So at this point it becomes, okay, then we advocate for new laws. And we advocate for better protection because this isn't right. You shouldn't be able to put Dr. Drew on a fucking documentary to say she has mental like fucking dementia and shit.
And then to also provide no evidence for that to back up your claim. Your claim is somebody told me. Well, somebody told me a lot of crazy shit that I don't go and say as a fact. It's really unfortunate, and it really pisses me off that TMZ continues to do this year after year after year. And it's not journalism, it's harassment. It is bullying. They harassed the shit out of her in her darkest years and were a heavy contributor into getting her put against her will in a 5150, a setup with her family, and then they treated it like a spectacle. They were there with their cameras. They were tipped off. They've always been a part of the breaking down of Britney Spears, and they've never stopped, even when fans were speaking up for her and saying she deserves this freedom. They're still over here trying to do it again.
And at one point, I know that the Team Con, for whatever that means, they infiltrated the Free Britney movement at one point. And it's, that kind of freaks me out because I wonder how much of some of the friction that sometimes happens within our own movement. I wonder that all the time of like, is somebody like literally a fucking mole? Like, what is this? You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't feel like it should be that serious. It doesn't feel like that should even be possible. And at the same time, like, over the last year, I've seen some wild shit and I've seen some stuff that has made me really think twice about like who to trust. I mean, I say it and it's not a fucking joke. I really talked to 3 people in this movement at this point. And even outside of that, I don't really feel comfortable. And I feel bad. It's not like I'm trying to be cliquey.
Right.
Like that's the last fucking thing I want. And that like concerns me. I never want to seem like I'm being cliquey. It makes me almost paranoid. But I need to fucking protect my own headspace because I'm here for Britney. You know what I mean? And that's what I want to stay focused on.
Well, and I'll say this, though. I think this movement is a lot different than the first one in that, like, she was absolutely still under the confines of that conservatorship. And I think the team was hell-bent on keeping her there, and it didn't work. So, and also they were using her money, allegedly. This is from whistleblower Alex Vlasov from Black Box Security. He's the one that has said this information. So it's all alleged, but that's what he said in a statement. And they used Britney Spears' money to infiltrate the Free Britney movement via Black Box and stalk people and do profiles on them and wiggle their way into the movement and change the narrative. Now, could that be happening again? Absolutely, it could. However, the stakes are a lot different now, and I hope they don't have access to the money the way that they used to do something like that.
Oh, that's a really good point.
I hope.
That's a very
And
good
there's going to be a
point.
lot of people that are probably mad at that. Allyn, they absolutely control all her money, but I can't help to tell you that legally they don't. So if they do, it's shady, and I don't have any proof.
I also heard that BJ Investigates came out with a new video breaking down where Britney's money went. And I sincerely, the only reason I haven't watched it is I don't have the emotional capacity to like receive whatever information I'm going to get from BJ. I'm really dying to watch it, but I've been like waiting till I can like
Same. Maybe we should do a live and watch it and react
Oh, that's a good idea.
when we feel ready. Because I haven't watched it. I mean, I don't want to take her views from her, though. We'll have to talk about that.
Yeah, maybe we could like we'll watch it together like this maybe, and then like fucking we go on a live and just talk about our thoughts and encourage other people to watch it first, so they can like know what we're talking about.
Yeah, because full disclosure, I'm having a really emotional week as well, and I didn't feel prepared to watch it either.
The other thing I saw, I don't know if TMZ was the one that actually reported it or announced it, or it might have been Page 6, but that Kevin Federline is looking to double his child support. And man, it's really tough for me whenever he comes up because I really don't want to touch it. I don't think her children would ever fucking take the time to listen to some asshole that's obsessed with their mom. But God forbid if they ever did, I wouldn't want them to hear me talking shit about Kevin. That said, it's really frustrating, if these allegations are true. It's really frustrating to even think of the idea that Kevin would be trying to get more from her.
Yeah, I mean, and the headline was extra disappointing because it was like saying, oh, he didn't expect to have them 100% custody when he took the deal he took, which, by the way, he asked for $60,000. They gave him $40,000. He wanted more than he's already getting. And I found that really upsetting if he really said that he just didn't expect 100% custody because it wasn't Britney's choice not to see them, regardless.
Yeah, right. He took 100% custody.
Right,
That's not
legally
the same thing.
binding, she's supposed to be seeing them, and she's not. And it wasn't by her choice. The last we heard her speak on it, she was begging to see them. And then you have the fact, too, that, Kevin has now moved the children to Hawaii, much further away from her, restricting her access further, and now maybe crying to TMZ, I didn't expect this 100% custody.
Yeah.
These are your choices.
Why did you move them to Maui?
He somehow managed to find somewhere more expensive in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Like, what is that?
And he's not a working person in LA. There's no reason for him to be in LA. They could go wherever. Supposedly the wife has a fucking job, but even then, you know what I mean? Like, I don't really understand why Britney should have to pay a higher cost of living for something she had nothing to do with. You know what I mean? It just doesn't have to do with her.
And, my desire is not for her to give Kevin Federline any more dollars whatsoever. And I think a lot of people are upset with the idea that I'm supporting the fact that Britney could pay less to Kevin for her oldest coming of age. But my thing is, I hope she can pay that kid directly if she wants to help him.
Me too.
They can forge a relationship on their own, cut Kevin out of it. He no longer needs to be the moderator of their parental relationship.
You know what? I've thought about that a lot too, that I would not be surprised at all if Britney ends up being able to connect to them more as adults because she'll be able to tell them the truth about what happened and she'll be able to explain things. And I've thought about that a lot too. Like whatever amount she's given to Kevin, She doesn't have to stop giving it to
Right.
the boys. This isn't about the boys. She worked really hard so that her kids wouldn't have to struggle.
Yeah. And I know you said you don't want to talk shit on Kevin in case the boys are listening. So boys, turn it off if you're here. This is your warning. Because I can't stand by and also be impartial toward him because, you know, he's done all these things over the years. But recently, I mean, it was a year ago that he released that secret footage of the boys filming Britney, parenting them and making her out to be a kind of monster. And I'm not here to say how I feel about what she said or didn't say or any of it. What I'm saying is like, you had no right to put that out in the world with the end game of hurting Britney and her case. I didn't like that. I thought it was very underhanded. And I think he shouldn't be allowed to now ask for more money. Like, all he has done is embarrass her over and over.
I also think we talked a little bit about, I think it was yesterday, about stuff we wanted to chat about. As a creator, as a content creator in general, but I'll speak to this movement specifically. I think it's really easy for people to kind of talk the talk of just like boundaries, and like it's really easy to say these buzzwords. And I think it's really kind of funny that you and I, in unison, both this week, we're like, I'm fucking done. We both, and I like the way you put it. You were like, we both cried on social media this week, you know? And I really like being authentic in that way. And I think that Britney's authentic in that way. And I think people just misunderstand it. They don't know what she's talking about. And all I see is somebody who I identify with. Like, I'm just like, yeah, man, I get that. And a lot of people are in this movement and everybody has something to offer. But we're all just genuinely people. And I think a lot of times, like, followers in this movement or advocates sort of expect a lot from each other. Like, none of us are getting paid for this, man. And it's just, we need to afford each other a little more grace just in general. And it's been a long year. And I'm super glad that you came my way and that we came upon each other. That sounded dirty. But in the beginning, it was very much like we are all a group. And then slowly I started to feel like I don't really feel comfortable aligning with some of the things that are happening. So I just like dipped. I just dipped from everybody, not for any fucking one reason. I just literally was like, I'm just going to operate on my own. And in my gut being like, I agree with a lot of things you guys are saying, but I got to stay true to myself. I got to stick with positive stuff and just sticking with positive Britney stuff. And the longer I've been doing that and the further away I've gotten from ask questions first, worry about her humanity later, the further away that I've gotten from that, the better my mental health has gotten. And I'm much more calculated on what I'm focused on and where I'm focusing my energy. And I'm just really glad that you and I sort of aligned in this way where our focuses are very similar. Thank you for being my friend.
I really appreciate you too, and I appreciate that you've come around. And I have a little bit of the opposite problem of you, where you have felt isolated. I have felt sometimes overextended, because I do make quite a lot of friends and I do talk to quite a lot of people, and I hear so many different perspectives. And sometimes that can become really overwhelming, and I can find myself sucked into different mindsets that aren't serving me. But I do find, and I think I've told you this before, I find you a really calming, like, central force that helps bring me back to the ground when I'm spiraling on some of those things.
That's so funny. I don't think anybody has ever described me that way. You're very calming and you ground me. I'm like, let's get high.
Well, yeah, but because you'll hear what I'm saying. You're like, now, Allyn, I hear you, but...
Yeah, I guess it's funny how the Britney stuff can be so triggering for some people, myself included. I actually got a message from somebody not that long ago that was very sweet. And she was like, hey, I need to unfollow you. The Britney stuff is really affecting my mental health. I love you. Like, I just need a break from it. And she was gone for 3 days. And she came back and she was like, I couldn't stay away. Those are the kind of people that I'm really posting for, that I want to keep them up to date. I want to keep them informed. But I don't want to bring the heavy stuff. I don't want to bring the triggering shit. I don't want to talk about things that are just unproductive and irrelevant in some cases. And I want to stay really focused on Britney, her obtaining justice, just informing people about, what TMZ has done and what we can do to stop it and what we can do to prevent it from continuing to happen. As a person that's struggled with mental health issues, it's been really cathartic to take the topic of Britney Spears as it has evolved from something that's just been straight up triggering, and it's been a source of a lot of emotional instability. And now it's becoming a true source of strength for me. It's really becoming something that I am confident about and I pride myself on. I take the time to like post a positive picture of Britney every day. That's for my own mental health, truly. All the Britney advocates and content creators need to take a good long look at themselves and say, why the fuck am I here?
I ask myself that every day, Charlie. Truly.
Really? I mean, really. I do too. I really do too. And it's like, am I here for Britney? Am I here for myself? Am I here for other fans? You know what I mean? And it could be all three. But be honest with yourself on what you're doing, because you got to really stop and look at her like a fucking person. I think it's really great that people like to think of this as one big community, but I also think people need to hold themselves accountable for what they're putting out there, the content that they're focusing on, and what their intentions are in this movement. And I just really encourage anybody that finds it to be stressful or overwhelming or they need a break to do that, because you really, you know, what's that saying with the fucking airplane? Like you have to put your mask on before the next person's.
You are supposed to affix the oxygen mask to your own face before trying to take care of others next to you. Thank you. That's my airplane voice. Was it good?
You should be a stewardess, dude. You were fantastic. All right. And on that note, that will do it for this edition of Britney Army Barracks. And remember,
people can take everything away from you,
but they can never take away your truth.
See you next Tuesday, bitches.